So there is a fuss around Mercury retrograde. But for me, Mercury retrograde has a symbolic value. And the kind of Mercury retrograde I see and interpret, it is not a deterministic way of saying that, oh, there will be accidents, oh, there will be hard disk crashes, or there will be laptop crashes. But the kind of astrology which I came to know is that the Mercury is retrograding in your being, inside of you. So we work in a holographic universe, which means that if if Mercury is in retrograding in Pisces and Aquarius, that means the planetary arrangement within us. And when I say planetary arrangement within us, it means that the symbolic planetary arrangement within us is also retrograding. And what does it mean that Mercury retrogrades are chaotic phases? And chaotic phases are important in a sense that they allow people and the entire earth and universe to slow down and go into a sleep mode, where you can sort of reboot and recalibrate yourself and come out in the world as a new person, or have new relationships, or have new identity, or whatever. So these four phases of Mercury retrograde, where there is a first phase of setup phase, second phase is really the retrograde where Mercury goes underground, and then there is a mid phase where there is darkness, and then there is a phase of integration. So for me, these are all symbolic phases of Mercury retrograde, where you really unravel with your own shadow, as the whole humanity and universe is going into recalibrating and reassessing the collective unconscious. So for me, Mercury retrogrades are not to be worried about. I think they should be welcome in a way that they allow you to revisit, to reappraise your life, your relationships, your own emotions. And what particularly interesting with current Mercury retrograde is that the Mercury retrogrades in Pisces and Aquarius. And we say, when we talk about Pisces, Pisces is all about emotions, all about your inner life, the past trauma, past wounds, and the past traumatic memories that you have been sort of driving your life up to now. You know that inner wounded child archetype, if you say that the adult child archetype, that if you are a codependent, for example, so you might be triggered that that child wants to take care of everybody, that wounded child. And so if your emotional space is not being sorted out in a way in your childhood, these patterns can be sort of worked upon, and these patterns can be deactivated, and and new patterns can be reactivated. So this is a phase where you can work on your emotional content of your being. And if you take Aquarius, so Aquarius sort of represents the humanity, the, 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 the evolution of humanity, the progress of humanity in a positive manner, and the mind. So basically, our mind and hearts are going into retrograde. They are going into sleep mode so that we can sort out the older patterns and allow new patterns to emerge. So if you talk about Aquarius, so we have these old beliefs and patterns. So for example, one old belief that I'm grappling with is about not being able to create abundance for myself. So what beliefs are I'm believing in, which are not allowing me to create abundance for myself. So this is one example. So this retrograde is about really overhauling our mind and heart that we are carrying since decades. So not only decades, because we are also collective psyche. So in a way, our psychic DNA is being inherited by our past generations. So we need to transmute and mutate those old patterns, and this is the opportunity. So I am seeing Mercury retrograde as an opportunity rather than something to be fear about. So, so the conventional way of seeing Mercury retrograde is pretty scary. and they would say, oh, this accidents will happen, because there is an archetype called trickster archetype that I learned recently. So what happens that the entire universe wants to slow down, and if you don't want, if you won't slow down, then the trickster archetype comes into play, and it will trick you to the truth. So for example, if 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 your mind is saying that, okay, slow down, we need to slow down, baby, but if you won't, then the trickster would come, and you will come across an accident, or you got an illness if you don't uh, listen to the navigation system, and it says that, oh, go right, go right, go right, go right, but if you don't listen to that navigation system, so it can create havoc in your life. So these are some of the examples. Or your laptop will crash. So that's where the trickster archetype comes into play. So that's interesting, because if you don't listen to the voices inside of you, because actually something is retrograding inside. So if you don't listen to those patterns, those symbols, those messages, then the universe will set you up with something which you don't like, and then you make meaning out of it, that Mercury retrogrades are fucking dangerous, or they are pretty nasty phases where you just hide and be in your own cocoon. So so for me it's not like this. So what I've learned so far through fusing psychology and astrology, yeah.
So, in this retrograde phase, for a normal person to understand or to make meaning out of this whole shifting which is taking place in the universe, can you suggest some tools or healing modalities which would help them drop down, or which will help them connect to their self, so that they are really able to trust and follow what their instincts are saying?
Well, there are many things available in self-help domain. So there are meditations, there are inner child work, shadow work. There are countless things that you can do. But what I think, what has benefited me, and what I'll suggest people can do, because shadow work is very important in these phases. So I would highly recommend anything in shadow work. Or if you don't want to do shadow work, you just begin asking certain questions that will ground you to your heart and to your body, because as I said, Mercury retrogrades are about slowing down and going inwards to see what is working, what's not working, and what's not working, why they are not working, and what new things you want to create. So if you engage with yourself, even with these questions, I think they might help you to really slow down and reflect on this. So the image I get for a person who wants to do this kind of work. So when we are, so I'll use the metaphor of fish and the ocean or the sea. So when the fish is in the sea, she doesn't know where she is. But to be in a reflective mode, how about if the fish step outside of the sea and see itself in the water and itself? So it's that kind of an image or a metaphor I would like to give to the people to work on it. So it's about stepping out of your situations, your relationships, your thinking, your feeling, and then having an objective look into, or the panoramic look into everything that surrounds you, whether they are your relationships, your emotions, your thinking, your belief system. It's about also challenging those belief systems, that are they working, or are they working, or are they not? Yeah. So so you can start questioning everything, and if you can afford, you do shadow work. You may seek help from a facilitator if you can, those who really resonate with you. So I would really suggest to do that as well.
Thank you. Thank you